Welcome, dear listeners, to Satanists Nextdoor. We're your hosts, Lillian Levine
and Tommy Levine.
Whether you're an open-minded, curious onlooker or a fellow Satanist seeking camaraderie, our goal is to share our personal experiences and delve into the intricate tapestry of Satanism in our daily lives, occasionally inviting other guests to share their unique perspectives, leaving no pentagram unturned. We'll explore how our beliefs shape our views on society, dive into struggles and triumphs we've encountered, and reveal the humanity that unites us all. So grab your favorite chalice and join us on this captivating journey. Satanists Nextdoor is ready to peel back the curtain and offer you a glimpse into our world, one captivating episode at a time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Satanists Nextdoor. As you know, last week we didn't do a podcast because we were a little bit busy. And so we thought we would take the opportunity with this episode and talk a bit about what we were doing with the Protect Children project. And we have a lot of the members that came along with us. And the campaign, would you be coordinator, Eliphaz, or what's your official title?
Campaign director.
Campaign director with us. Okay. So I thought the best way to do this would be let's start out with Eliphaz. Why don't you give a bit of an overview? You know, who, what, when, where, why, how, why did this come about? How did Dumas get selected and all of that? And then we can have the group join in after that. Sound good?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm Eliphaz Costus, campaign director of Protect Children Project. And of course, Protect Children Project is a campaign of the Satanic Temple. And our goal is to provide a religious exemption from certain punishments that occur in public school that members of TST are exempt from because they violate our deeply held belief in bodily autonomy. Those punishments being corporal punishment, solitary confinement, or often known as seclusion, restraints, physical and mechanical, and as well denial of bathroom access because, these all violate Tenet 3, the belief in bodily inviolability, and therefore are not allowed against our members. So we advocate on behalf of those members and, provide resources so they can protect themselves in school from those kind of abuses.
So how is Dumas? I mean, because we went kind of to the middle of nowhere in Texas, how did that school get picked?
Well, we wanted to highlight our new initiative called the Student Rights Card, which is it's a tool that can be used by TST members. It's an official TST document that asserts that they're a member of the Satanic Temple and that their deeply held beliefs in bodily autonomy mean that they have a religious exemption from the punishments I mentioned before. And if those religious rights are disregarded, they can result in legal action by TST's lawyers. So I believe we're probably, as far as I know, the first religion to take this stance against punishments in school and offering a religious rights exemption. And so to highlight this new initiative, we wanted to actually, have an in-person direct action to sort of, gain some attention around it and make students aware that it was out there as a tool to protect themselves. And, Dumas first got on my radar because I started researching corporal punishment rates in Texas. And the reason I chose Texas is because historically it's had a really high rate of corporal punishment. And back in 2017, 2018, the civil rights data collection, which is a collection of data from all around the country, but that showed that Texas had the second highest rate of corporal punishment. And then also right before SatanCon, there was a bill that was proposed in the Texas legislature, I think for the ninth time, to ban corporal punishment, and it was voted down. And several of the Republican legislatures cited their righteous belief in the Bible as the reason they wanted to keep corporal punishment in schools, which enraged me and made me, turn my attention toward Texas. And so through a lot of research into, different school districts that still use corporal punishment and what their rates were, I landed on Dumas, dumbass. I don't know, there's many ways to pronounce it. But, I sent them, their numbers from 2017, 2018 were really high. So then I sent them a Freedom of Information Act request to get the numbers of the most recent years, because I wanted to make sure, we had chosen a location that was still egregiously using this disciplinary act. And when they sent me the numbers back, I was horrified, because the numbers showed in the last 3 years an ever increasing rate of corporal punishment, culminating in over 1,000 cases last school year alone, 1,109 to be exact, which is
insane,
frankly, like obscene. Yeah. And I'd never seen anything close to that level of use. So I thought they deserved to have a visit from us. And, the purpose was, to make the community and make the student body aware that members of TST and people who are interested in becoming members could take information from us. And, if they decided they wanted to become a member, then they had power to stop those punishments from happening. Yeah, I'm just rambling now. But
no.
Long story short,
no,
Dumas, has a really terrible history of hitting their students, and that's why that school was chosen. In particular, Dumas High School, which had the highest numbers.
Yeah, which was insane. 1,109 separate instances of corporal punishment enacted on students. You got to think there's 365 days a year. You're probably in school, separate about 4 months out. So you're literally just seeing repeated incidents of this over and over on a daily almost basis to reach those numbers.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we take a moment and have everybody else sort of do a round robin around the room to introduce who's all on the call, and maybe introduce yourself and say, what brought
interested you,
what motivated you to go along with the rest of us to this. Who wants to start? I'm going to pick somebody if not. Okay, Lanzifer.
Well, howdy. I'm Lanzifer Longinus, and I'm the congregation head for the San Antonio congregation, TST. And my main motivating factor was this is a Texas thing. Pretty much, it was in Texas. And pretty much most of us there were all from this state, from San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Austin, and I support the campaign, of course, but
gotcha.
That was my motivation. Yeah.
Who's next? Citlali?
Maybe.
Daniel, how about you?
Yeah, hello. I'm Daniel. So I'm a longtime member of the Austin TST Austin congregation, and so. My motivation to take part in this was I'm originally from Germany, and I grew up in the belief that something like corporal punishment does not exist anymore today. And I was pretty shocked when I found out that in the US and especially in Texas, this is a thing, and not like on the lighter side of things. It's like done in an extent that is really shocking to me, and especially the normalization of it, that this is something that is a method to turn out better people by hitting them, and I think that's just wrong. So
absolutely.
The reasons I'm in.
Lucy, maybe.
Yeah, hi, I'm Lucy. I'm one of the congregation head of TST Austin. I found out about that at SatanCon last year. It was this year. I believe Eliphaz came to our merge table at SatanCon and proposed his idea to us. And I was immediately in and said, we definitely have to do something about that. Let me know what you need, how we can make that like a thing. Just let me know whatever you need, and we will be there. And I was immediately in when I heard about that. I was so shocked that that is still a thing, and also like the argument from the legislator, and then citing the Bible because of that. I was just like irritated, like that. It was horrible. It was just horrible to hear, and I was immediately like hooked on the idea that we do something here in Texas. And I live in Texas for 7 years now. I don't have kids here in school, but I just thought we have to do something. And yeah, I gladly drove so many hours up there in the middle of the Texas Panhandle, in the middle of nowhere. I was like, it's for sure.
Yeah. It definitely was a long drive. Minister Ty.
Hi, I'm Ty. I'm the event director for TST Austin. And I've worked in education for well over a decade and been like education adjacent for probably 2 decades in my career. So being newer to Texas and realizing that corporal punishment was a thing, all the districts I worked for, even the district I work for now, it would just be unheard of. The parents wouldn't stand for it. So it was really shocking to me to hear that. And I just wanted to be a part of making sure that students know that this is not okay. It's not normal. It's not the norm. I was talking to coworkers and they were telling stories about how their principals used to paddle them. That's creepy. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to make sure that students had some education information and know. Sometimes it's just really powerful to know that other people agree with you that what you're having to experience is wrong. And I wanted to make sure to be a part of that.
Cool. I don't know if Citlali's joined again or not.
I'm here.
Okay. Why don't you introduce yourself and why did you show up?
Hi, everybody. I'm Minister Citlali Soona. So I actually, as Lucy was telling about how Eliphaz approached our table, because we had I'm a co-congregation leader from the Dallas-Fort Worth, TST Dallas-Fort Worth congregation. I do remember that. I wasn't there, but I was probably running off doing something, one of the million things that there's to do at SatanCon. I do remember that they had that conversation, and it was just kind of a seed planted back then. And in one of our initial meetings, what kind of motivated me to kind of continue to pursue this was some of the questions that came into mind were, what are the demographics of the school? Because to be honest, I am not surprised that there's still corporal punishment out in rural Texas, sadly. But as Minister Ty said earlier, that's corporal punishment is unheard of in any of the major cities. Like I also have teaching experience, and that just doesn't exist in any of the major cities, right? But I wasn't surprised, but what did surprise me was the number. It was a really high number. And not only that, one of the first questions that I asked during one of our initial meetings about this was, what are the demographics of the students and what does the administration of the school look like? So the first part is I just found out it's a really high amount, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the number of Hispanic/Mexican-American students at this school is about 80%, which is very high for a rural school. Not only that, a lot of the administration was either white or appeared to be white. So that was one of my other concerns as well. And I, as Lanzifer also mentioned before, this is kind of something for Texans by Texans. Like it wasn't, a majority of us were from Texas, and we wanted to show up for other Texans to be like, we're noticing that this is happening. You're not alone. You have rights. And so that's what kind of motivated me to participate in this. And to kind of put this as a group effort, as like a TST Texas thing as well.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm just so proud of everyone. And just to make everyone aware, Eliphaz, who is the campaign director, came out from an entirely different state. Outside of Eliphaz, it was an entirely Texas crew. Tommy and myself representing Houston. I'm one of the co-congregation heads with the Houston congregation. So you guys kind of talked about what your motivation was. I was hoping we can talk about what you feel as a participant the atmosphere was like. How did you feel we were perceived as people in the community where we were? What do you feel like? How did the event go off, just to start things?
Lucy got her hand up first, and then Eliphaz after that.
Yeah, for me it was surprising at the morning when we showed up, like before school started. So yeah, we did like this in 2 parts. So we started like really early in the morning. We set everything up before the school started, and then came back in the afternoon for the early dismissal. And then for me, it was really surprising. As soon as we were setting up everything. There was like right immediately, like 10 or 15 minutes in, there was like this family approaching us. I already saw them like turning around the corner with a huge smile on their face and really happy. And you could actually see how happy they were that we are here. And then they came around the corner and approached us. And I just heard them yelling. It's like, thank you so much that you're here and came out here in rural Texas and that you're supporting us and do what you do. And that was so heartwarming for me. And I also thought there's like, that's why we're here. That really what motivates me being a Satanist and being a member of TST for so long. It's like, that's what I want to do. And that's what kind of like drives me all the time, like doing stuff like that. And I was really surprised, like finding really like supporters out in the middle of nowhere in Texas. Mm-hmm. It was so cool. It was awesome.
Cool. Eliphaz.
Yeah, absolutely. And the student from that family, she later in the day, she came with another big smile on her face, holding a cake that she had brought for us that day. And so that was really sweet. I mean, going into it, I was definitely really nervous because, especially I haven't been in Texas in a long time. And, I know that being in rural Texas is probably not the safest place for Satanists to set up shop and make their voices heard. But and also the night before, because the information about us showing up was leaked a bit earlier than we intended, because the superintendent and the principal wanted to notify the students and the parents that who we were and that we were coming, which is their right. But there was a big uproar in the community, and we saw there was all these different church groups calling on people to come out to the school and have a giant prayer circle and circle the school praying and chanting and whatever they do. Snake handling, I don't know, maybe it's not that, but so we were sort of monitoring that activity on Facebook Live pretty much, or I wasn't, because I was I didn't want to stress myself out too much, but I know that Lanz, you were, and Lanz just kept going, wow. I was like, oh wow, we're in for something the next day. But yeah, when we showed up, there really weren't any, we didn't really deal with many protesters or anything like that. A few people walking by with snarky remarks here and there, some middle fingers thrown from car windows, and at one point a fire truck came by and honked really loud to freak me out, to freak us out. But in general, it went off very smoothly, and we felt safe. I think I felt safe, and that was also because of the great work from the local school district police force, who I definitely have to give credit to for taking our First Amendment right to be there seriously and making sure the situation was absolutely in control.
Yeah, I'd say our security did a really good job too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, as well our private security guards, who were just wonderful, and shout out to them, and I'll keep their name off the off the recording, but it was just so great to have them there, and the guy who ran the company was there, Eli, and he's actually an immigrant from Tanzania, and he said this wonderful smile and really kind eyes, and he really let us know that he was there to protect us and didn't care what our religion was, unlike the security team I had hired, who the night before or the day before basically just sent me an email openly discriminating against us and saying he was canceling the job. And also credit to Fel Phoenix for helping us find that security last minute, and also being our eyes in the sky and monitoring the internet chatter and all the stuff that was going on that we couldn't see with as part of the Cerberus security monitoring company. So yeah.
Citlali, you had your hand up.
We're just kind of sharing our experiences there, right?
Yeah.
It was certainly interesting, just to add on to what we observed is there were a lot. I guess we can start from the beginning. Media greeted us there first things first, they were already there waiting for us. So that's not something that I'm used to at this point. Whenever we go anywhere. But what kind of I thought was a very sweet gesture was that there was a woman who was probably Mexican American who dropped off a bag of burritos, like homemade burritos and sausage and biscuit sandwiches for us. And I had that interaction with her. She kind of said like, here's breakfast for y'all. Have a good day, and just kind of went on her way. Which, by the way, everyone, I've had both the biscuits, many burritos. They're okay. I'm fine.
Okay.
So, but I do want to add to that. It's up to y'all if you want to include this bit. Like, I feel like if she hadn't been a woman of color, I would have been more hesitant about trying that food.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I explained that to someone too. They're like, yeah, if they were not a person of color, I wouldn't have trusted it. And I had hesitation too. And I don't blame everyone for not wanting to eat it. That's fine. But for me, it was like, I don't know. I think she didn't say anything about Jesus as well. She didn't say like, oh, God bless you or anything like that. She just said, here's food for y'all. Have a good day. That's it. And it was a lot. It was enough for everybody to probably have two of the burritos and stuff. But I saw stuff like that, just like stuff emerging that the whole town isn't out there to get us. Now I did feel, some I had some bad gut feelings about some stuff, and like when we went to go eat at that cafe and we essentially ran out of that cafe. That was not fun. And I'm forever grateful for that security that was on heightened alert. They were kind of, asking questions, redirecting questions from the people that were there that essentially didn't want us there. So long story short of that for your listeners is that we went to eat at a cafe nearby, and the cafe was wonderful. The staff was wonderful. They completed their part in terms of serving us. But we had some people from the town that saw who we were. They weren't happy with who we were. And it looked like there was going to be a confrontation that was going to go down. And so we essentially just hightailed it out of there.
Yeah.
And it was, and I had a very uneasy feeling. And at the time I was on the phone doing something else, but I had my eyes on them, and I was like, I don't like that they're looking at us. And, as a Mexican American in this country, I already have a heightened sense of like two older white guys looking at me, staring at me. That just made me feel uneasy to begin with. But to kind of make up for it in the afternoon, we had students that stopped by and I talked to them, and we had as y'all know, we had the student rights cards in both English and Spanish because the community does speak. It's a high Spanish speaking community. It's a high percentage, and so in the afternoon there was a young man who came in and joined us, who found out that we were coming. And it was great talking to him. And it was, coming into this, I didn't really know about the town. I just knew the statistics. I knew that it was like middle of nowhere, Texas, little town. And he really gave us perspective about the town, about how, who people were employed by, the percentage of people that live there, and how a lot of them are religious, right? And how he was shocked and surprised that corporal punishment doesn't really exist on the eastern side of the state, right? Well, in the major cities, I'm talking about the major cities, because y'all can correct me, but people that are like outside of the major cities, like outside of like Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, Houston, San Antonio, and all that, they think of us as like the big city people,
right? And
those heathens over there, okay. those Austin heathens over there. So there's kind of an unspoken division there between the state. And, that's why I kind of emphasize that this was by Texans for Texans as well. And this young gentleman just gave me such a great perspective of like how surprised he was that people were not doing this anymore in other parts of the state, on how cultural perspective as well as like how some of these students had to take that punishment, and how sometimes it wasn't really a choice. And, that just talking to him just brought up more questions, which I'm sure we'll run into later. But Overall, it was a great experience, even though sometimes it was a little nerve-wracking. And I didn't tell this to anyone, I think. So I'm coming up with this like new reveal, I guess. When we went to the pharmacy in town to go buy gear, right, from the high school, because they sell licensed gear there. There were two people that saw my shirt. And of course, our shirts that we had were the Protect Children Project with the Satanic Temple. And on the back, it says, it says the third tenet. And they saw me with the shirt. They came in and I knew they had eyes on me. I knew that they were looking at me, whatever, right? But as I was checking out, I was, doing the self-checkout thing. And they were right behind me. And they were like, oh, thank God for chips. And I almost wanted to turn around and be like, oh, yeah, thank the people that helped grow those chips and help package those chips, because everyone else but God did the work for those chips.
Yeah.
And just to be petty, I very slowly scanned everything, poked around on the screen, and I knew they were behind me, and I was doing it to be petty at this point. And I took a kick out of it. People were like, where's Citlali? She's taking a long time. Well, that's why it took long.
Makes sense to me.
Partially.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I thought the event went off really smooth. Like you said, there was that one incident in the restaurant that was a bit of a close call, but I do have to give hats off to the sheriff that he did a really good job of respecting us, respecting our First Amendment right. And when there almost was an incident at the school, he was really quick to chase those people away and remind them, you're not supposed to be here. They have a right to be here, and they can be here, and so go away. So I think he did a really good job.
Yeah. Yeah, I was.
Of course, we had the troll testers. That we dealt with
the troll testers.
Trademark.
Almost forgot about them.
Yes, they were fun because they came in with all the preconceived notions, and absolutely it did not feel like they really were there for the issue. It was more to push their particular perspective.
Yeah.
Well, they were also filming us, and they wanted to make a TikTok video of them owning the Satanists or something, but it didn't work out that way.
No,
at all.
Kind of backfired on them.
Yeah. I definitely wanted to point out one of the most impressive things to me. There was a few really strong things that stuck out, but the young man that came to see us that second part of the day and stood with us with his sign, which was a really awesome. It was a resist fist breaking a paddle, which the symbolism there was outstanding. But the night before, and this is his community, he's a young man. It's a very rural town. He is a Mexican-American individual. He stood outside that night when all the protesters were there, angry that we were going to be showing up, with his two signs, singing a song peacefully to contradict what the Christian notion of love and acceptance is when they push these kind of ideals. And to me, not only was that a huge, powerful statement, but the strength it takes, because we leave at the end of the day, that's his community. So hats off to him and the strength that he showed in the face of such adversity.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I was blown away when Eduardo came and joined us with the sign, because he stopped by really briefly, like maybe an hour before or a little bit before. Then he had to leave. He's like, "Oh, I'm coming back. I'm gonna have to drive my brother somewhere. I'm coming back." And I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe I'll see this guy again." And then he comes back with this amazing sign, and he's like, "Can I stand with you guys?" And that really moved me. That it meant so much to him that we were there. And the reason why is because he grew up in the Dumas school district, and he, experienced lots of corporal punishment. And he was telling us how it wasn't until it's so normalized in the community that it wasn't until he got a bit older and spent time outside of that community and, gained some more wisdom that he realized how wrong it is, and how, when he was a child, he just thought that he deserved to be hit because he was just a bad kid or something. And it wasn't until he, gained this new awareness, it was just, just how things are done at Dumas. But he's now, a really strong advocate against hitting children. And I think it was really, meant a lot to him that we were there, and it meant a lot to me and all of us that he came and joined us. And also his girlfriend came and stood in solidarity with us as well. And he also talked about, which I think is really important, that, because the school, one of the excuses they like to make for continuing corporal punishment is, well, we give the students a choice whether they want to be hit or they want to have detention for 3 hours, or sometimes I think it could even be suspension from school.
Yeah, out of school.
And he was talking about how he didn't, when he was at the high school, he was working at McDonald's because he had to also work to help support his family who was struggling a bit financially, and he didn't. So it wasn't really a choice because he couldn't have 3-hour detention after school and miss work. So he had to take his SWATs, and they call them SWATs because they want to make it sound less violent, but really they're hitting children with a giant paddle.
Yeah.
And so is it really a choice? Not really. And also, it's, even if they are offering the students a choice, it's not a choice that's fair to put on a child who doesn't understand the implications of the long-term traumatic implications of being hit. And so it's not, I call, to quote, to take Lanz's phrase, I call bullshit on that explanation.
Yeah.
I swooped in there and used it, Lanz.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to point out that it's not just the choice, that it's one, I think Citlali's like dead on with, their administration is solidly white. I looked it up. They are 100% white, at least white passing at minimum. And I think that if you are coming from a place where you don't understand, like you believe you're offering a choice, but it's not truly a choice, that's something that you need to really critically look at. And so, for their own feelings, saying, well, the students can choose, but do they truly understand what privilege is required to be able to make that choice to not choose a SWAT? And I don't think that's there. And so I think it's really important that groups like ours kind of throw those questions back at people, because, I've worked at Title I schools. I've worked with students that are, historically disadvantaged, and I would much rather work there, because the times I worked at privileged schools, it's really difficult to unteach privilege. It's almost impossible. And so I think it's really important that we're in these spaces bringing up these questions for people so that they have to dig deep. I think about myself when I was the age of the student that joined us, and I would have been on the other side. I would have been in that prayer circle. I would have been, clutching my pearls kind of a situation.
Right.
And, kudos to him for having such strong grounds, because for me, it was always like, well, I would just kind of brush off the hypocrisy of it until it finally got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm not that kind of Christian. I was like, oh, wait, actually, I'm not Christian at all, it turns out. And I think that it's really important for these groups to be present, so people can say, like, hey, being a good person, making good choices, treating people fair, that's not a Christian thing. I think when we're talking about like supremacy culture and theocracy, goodness gets tied into religion so much. And I think it's really important for people in smaller communities to see that you can be a good person, do amazing things, and all these things that weren't settling well with you, that you just kind of like let, slide by because your community is writing it off, is not okay. And your gut was right, because you kind of get gaslit by your town when you grow up in a small community like that. And I think that's what shocked me the most, is that how many people were not trying to, I thought when we came in, a lot of people tried to deflect and really just focus on Satan, Satan, Satan. But they were really focused on, why would you remove this level of discipline?
Right.
We need this. It won't be good if they don't have it. And that really shocked me, because if the only thing keeping you from being good is violence, what kind of person are you?
Right.
And so I think this whole thing just kind of really rocked my perspective. And I think about me at a younger age and how much Satanism has helped me grow as a person and really like solidify my identity. And so I'm so thankful that a group of us went out there to help that for other people, whether or not they identify as Satanists. Just the idea that, hey, you do not have to be Christian to be good. And when a bunch of people who have the label of goodness are doing things that are wrong, that is not good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I would say, they kept going back to this, it's a choice, as Eliphaz brought up, and it's the other part of the quote unquote choice is you take the SWATs, as they call them, again, sort of downplaying hitting children. And your other choice is 3 days out of school suspension, which are unexcused absences, which after so many unexcused absences, your family gets fined. So is it really a choice? I mean, you're putting a financial decision on a child.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if you look at Dumas High School, and I encourage listeners to go ahead and do that, go ahead and Google it, take a look, zoom out, and you're going to see this small town surrounded by farmland. And my experience when I went there, you get there, I believe biggest employer is a feedlot / meat processing, which that's a big deal. These people are working every day very hard to have the living that they have. And then, you roll up to the school, and one of the biggest things that greet you, which I actually found a bit surprising, was a sign. And it's big attention. Please be aware that the staff at Dumas ISD are armed and will use whatever force necessary to protect our students and staff. That is not a small statement in a very tiny town.
Yeah. All right, what's next? Let's see.
Can I add something to that?
Please.
Of frustration from that. Like, Texas politicians are driving these schools to make that decision, right? Like, again, that's arming teachers. That was a conversation in at least the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Mm-hmm. But a lot of us agreed that that's not a good idea, especially with who you have in the classroom.
Right.
But also, it's like, it's shocking, but I'm also not surprised that they had to take that in mind, because at this point, like, talking about Uvalde, that was also a small town, probably similar demographics as well.
Yep.
It's just so frustrating. And so, like, we have to constantly do stuff for Texans by Texans, if that makes sense.
It does. And when we have many representatives there to help speak about this and share about this, I think it's valuable. And regardless of whether or not the people agree with who we are or what we may represent to them, it's hard to argue with the fact that what we want is for your children not to be abused. And honestly, you could dress it up however you want, but it is abuse. And we know, because of the psychological studies, that hitting people to teach them how to be a better person doesn't necessarily grow a person that is not prone to violence as a means of redirecting the situation. So,
yeah, the other thing that struck me was that it was an opt-out. So we have corporal punishment in our school district, but it's opt-in. And there, it's automatic. You have to opt out of it. That just seemed a bit backwards. With everything there was kind of backwards, but this was like just that extra, really? This is like default for you guys. I don't know. All right. Eliphaz, you got your hand up.
Yeah, from what I've seen, that's actually the norm when it comes to just from the policies that I've looked at different schools. That's the norm, is that parents have to opt out from it. And that's something that gets brought up a lot. But we would also argue that students, even children, have their own. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Protect Children Project would argue that students, people under 18, still have religious rights of their own that can be independent from their parents' beliefs. And so even if a parent doesn't opt them out from corporal punishment, students can still assert their belief in bodily autonomy regardless of what their parents think. So that's another excuse that's often made that we don't accept.
Yeah.
For each of you guys who want to participate in this, when you went there, what do you feel the goal was that you were trying to reach in your action? Do you feel like you met that goal?
I'll go. My goal was just to be present and to show that this isn't the right way. I obviously we weren't going there to convert people or anything, like any of the rumors that went around and stuff like that.
You mean we didn't sign souls away?
No, we didn't sign souls away. We didn't take people's money. Right. None of that. But it was to be present and to sort of plant a seed, in a sense, for somebody that the next time they're being hit, and let's call it what it is, they're being hit. It's not a gentle little swat. For them to maybe think, you know what, this isn't right. There's a better way to do this, and maybe the next generation says, no, we're not going to do that. That was my goal.
Yeah, I mean, also to add to that, also one of my goals was also, although we were there to obviously support the children in that school and show them that you have a right of your bodily autonomy, but it was also like showing the parents their hypocrisy about that. We were standing there with a huge sign that says our religion doesn't believe in hitting children, and we had so many drive-by Karens that flipping the bird at us and like yelling Jesus is Lord and Jesus saves. It was like, dude, do you actually read our sign? It's like, are you okay that your children in that school right now probably get hit by a teacher? It's like, do you think that is okay? And it is just mind-boggling for me. And I think in my perspective, I achieved that goal just for being there for the kids and showing them, hey, we do have a right, and we don't have to be punished for our normal bodily rights. And because I saw a lot of kids standing around, and you could see that in their faces. They were like discussing it back and forth, like, should we go over there? And then discussing is like, did you read their banner, what it says? Like, is that really true? And like, you could see them like thinking about that and talking about that. And just because of that, it was so worth it going there.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think that was one of the interesting things is you would see the students gather on the sides around us. And I have to imagine it was an intimidating situation because the administrators were, the second half of the day, they were definitely out there. They were observing things. So you got to figure in a school district where they know that corporal punishment is there, that there's this authoritative behavior, that they're going to be a little hesitant about approaching us. And some did. Most didn't want to take any of the literature. I understand why maybe they don't want to bring that at home or what that could happen because of them bringing that home. But it was nice to see them at least curious and questioning what was happening.
Yeah. Also, I mean, if they would like approach us, there were a lot of parents around. Mm-hmm. If parents would see them going over to us and speak to us, they would probably get in trouble at home as well. So I understand why not a lot of kids like approached us and came over to us, but I could actually see them talking about that and discussing why we are here for and what we are doing, and so it definitely made them curious about that.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope that we had in total I think 6 students that approached us and some of them took brochures. I think most of them took student rights cards and stickers and pens, which we were offering, which was still, I think 6 is still a decent number. I was really unsure how many would be, want to approach us, given all the, the fear mongering and the worry about, facing anger from their parents or the school administrators for being, even talking to us. But, I hope we planted, at the very least, planted a seed within the community and the student body that, will make them question and discuss going forward whether, the schools and the district's policy of corporal punishment is really ethical or wise or any of those things, because, that's what we were there giving voice to. So
absolutely. And there was some video of an assembly audio of a video assembly that was released before we showed up, where the principal essentially went out and said, I don't want anyone showing up, and this is paraphrasing, it's not the exact thing he said, I don't want people showing up because essentially we could get sued and I don't want to deal with that. So I was really glad for that, because honestly we didn't go there for confrontation, despite what they might think. So that was fine for them to feel that way and not choose to be confrontational, because that was the last thing. It would not have been constructive, and we wouldn't have reached people the way we were able to, even just if they didn't speak to us, just seeing what we were there to do.
Yeah.
My goal was to get good footage and to have some kind of visual record of what was going on, what was happening in case things went sideways, because I didn't know how reliable the security situation was going to be, and if we had the GoPros on us, at least that would have been a deterrent for anybody, starting shit, there being like an actual altercation, because it's like, hey, you're on candid camera, and when the troll testers came out, I coined that term for him, because the guy with the scarf, he had he had his cell phone out, so he was obviously recording what was going on. But from the very beginning, it seemed like, okay, this guy might sincerely actually want information, why we're here and why we're doing this, and blah, 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 But then the conversation shifted, obviously. And I mean, I got a little bit of that recorded, when he was going on about Catholics not being Christians. That was like the cutoff point. That was the I call bullshit point for me. It was like, no, Catholics are Christians, and it was kind of bizarre conversation. And then he shifted it to, well, but y'all are for abortion and all of this stuff, and Tracy was saying, yeah, that's a completely separate issue. So it's like I think I caught like maybe the tail end of that, but I wanted to get good footage because you know how it is with the actual news media. They'll get a little snippet of something, and then they'll just run with the little snippet of what somebody says or something, and not show the big picture of what's going on. And yeah, so I wanted to at least be able to accomplish that,
You did. And it was really great that you brought that stuff out because, like you said, you're able to do that. I think it is a bit of a deterrent, and it was good to catch some of that conversation because it was bizarre to me. And a lot of listening, I've been through physical violence, physical abuse as a child, and one of the things that this particular troll tester really tried to push was, well, they brought it on themselves. It's their own fault. They deserve it. And that was so bizarre to me because when you're going through abuse, as a child specifically, you don't know that there are other options. You do believe that it's something that you may have brought on yourself, especially when it's reinforced that way. And that community, in large part, felt, from what I saw, obviously I didn't meet everyone or see everyone, but in that small group, there was a lot of support for that aggressive action. So that's really difficult for me to understand and to support. I don't understand why you would want to continue that kind of cycle of abuse. So I am glad you caught that. It was a very odd mindset, but I'm glad we were there doing what we did.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. We heard from Eduardo that was kind of like, because his brother was in that high school, or is in the high school, and he told us that, like, was it the school director? Correct me if I'm wrong. That he threw out those talking points about us just the day before, and that really shocked me. I was like, how can you do that? It is even like, yeah, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you listen to, there's a YouTube video that, it's just audio that Eduardo recorded at the school-wide meeting the day before, where the principal is talking all about, us being there. And yeah, he said that exact same thing, that obviously the troll tester was just parroting that, we believe in abortion. And so because we believe in abortion but are against corporal punishment, it's oxymoronic, which is just kind of, I don't know what kind of mental gymnastics you have to jump through to buy that. I mean, obviously, for those who truly believe that a fetus is a human being, I can see how that makes sense. But at the same time, it's just another excuse. It's another whataboutism that they're using to draw attention away from the fact that corporal punishment is cruel and unscientific and illogical. But at the same time, it's like you could flip that around. I could flip that around and say, well, if you care about, unborn fetuses so much, how do you justify hitting children? It makes no sense. But it's pretty fascinating to listen to that audio of what the principal was saying to the community the night before. I do respect and credit where credit's due that he, strongly stood up for our First Amendment rights to be there. Yep. And, and also tried to use it as sort of like a learning opportunity for the student body that, even though we, even if we might not agree with this group's beliefs, it's very important that we respect their right to have those beliefs and to voice them, which I respected. And then he went into this whole, misinformation about us wanting people to sign pieces of paper and asking students for money, and which is, I guess, to be expected. But
the funniest part it was really about him saying we were going to ask people for money is because he said, like we do every week when we tithe. So it's like they're going to ask you for money because we ask you for money.
So it's okay it's okay for the church to ask you for money, but not okay for Satanists, which of course we weren't doing. Obviously, TST collects donations online, like any other organization, but yeah, that was really funny. And also, and I think one of the creepier things that he said, which I think you brought up before, is that he was saying you have a choice. Like, they're going to offer you this information that exempts you from corporal punishment, but you already have a choice, and you can choose your SWATs, or you can choose suspension, 3-day suspension. But sometimes this is just paraphrasing, sometimes there's things worse than taking your SWATs, because too many unexcused absences, then your family has to pay a fine. So that was really kind of insidious to me, hearing that. But yeah, pretty fascinating. Maybe we can link, if you want, you could link the that video in the show notes or something, so people can.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to note too that the choices they're receiving, the punishment does not fit the crime. The school boasts very clearly about their 0 incidents of violence from students on the campus. They've had no students bringing weapons onto campus. So they're using corporal punishments for parties, for dealing with students talking back to teachers. The students aren't doing these horrible things that, even in my opinion, would still not justify the use of corporal punishment. But even from that perspective, it's not an eye for an eye here. Like, these are very minor things that these children are having to choose to get SWATs over. And like we said, it's not really even a true.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess that kind of goes into, when you look back on this whole event, were there things that surprised or challenged you? I know we touched on that a bit. Is there anybody else, things that you encountered or things that you saw or things that you heard that challenged things that you walked into this with?
I think, having a religious background myself, it was really hard seeing, like, who we've dubbed the troll testers coming in, just the amount of arrogance that was brought in with that conversation, leading with your phone. There was even kind of like a smugness to their face. They were really looking for a gotcha moment and not a discussion. And so that hit really hard because, like I said, those were the people that at some point in my life I looked up to, and really getting a different perspective of how limited that perspective is, and how being in such a sheltered place can really shift what you accept as normal and appropriate, and even who you idolize or who you look up to as heroic. Because I know that they are going to take that message back to their congregation. Some people are going to praise them as heroes. And that's scary, because it was really arrogant. It wasn't a discourse. They were cutting people off. They were drilling a point that wasn't true with the people. They're telling them, hey, we don't believe these things that you say. And yeah, I think that's what really shocked me, is just really getting a kind of an uncomfortable glance in the mirror to past me and what my life had been like. And I'm so thankful for the journey that I've come on, and this was definitely a big part of that.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Anybody else? All right. So I guess, Eliphaz, one of the questions I have for you is, what do you feel like the next steps are for the Protect Children Project in your advocacy and what you're trying to accomplish with students' rights?
Yeah, that's definitely something I have to to think about further and plan further, because I feel like I've been working on this. Like all the work I've been doing this year was sort of working toward and culminated in what we did last weekend. I think if the the funding's available, I would love to keep doing these type of actions at different schools in Texas and around the country, in districts that are also exhibiting really high rates of corporal punishment or seclusion and restraint. To raise awareness of that problem and raise awareness of Protect Children Project and TST's tools for combating it for members of the Satanic Temple. So I'd love to replicate the same event again and keep it going. And then I'm going to be looking into other ways to push Protect Children Project forward. I'd love to, I got shortly before our action, I got an email from someone in Texas who is a psychiatric nurse for the state hospital. And she was talking about, witnessing restraints and injuries and seclusion of children in these hospitals that don't have parental advocates. So I'm going to try to follow up with her and have a meeting with her, because that's something I would really like to pursue, is how we can help students in these hospitals from and protect them as well from abusive punishments.
Absolutely. And for people that are interested in learning more and helping to support what it is that you're out there fighting to do, how can they find more information? And we will be sure to share some of the links and information, but how would they do that?
Oh, yeah. Well, you can go to a short link you can go to is tst.link/PCP, which is the, Malcolm and Lucian love their inappropriate acronyms for the campaigns. So we're stuck with PCP, but that's okay. Gotta have some humor in this business. But that'll take you right to the Protect Children Project's section in on the satanictemple.com website. That's our campaign page, and there you can download the student rights card. And you can also, that's something that you can download and print out and then carry it with you in school. Or if you don't have access to a printer, you can email me directly at pcp@thesatanictemple.com, and I will personally mail you a physical copy, which I've done many, many times recently since the announcement. My inbox was actually flooded with interested students and family members from all around the country who wanted to have a physical card mailed to them, and many, many more downloads as well. So please get in touch if you're a student in school and maybe you just want to have a preemptive security by having a student rights card with you, or maybe if you're already experiencing any of these punishments, then definitely reach out to me and get one to protect yourself. Or maybe you're a parent or a guardian of a student in school and you're worried about them being facing some of these, any of the punishments I mentioned before, and I'll also send you a card and more information.
Fantastic. I mean, I can't thank you guys enough for being part of this and for what all of you did. I mean, we drove many, Texas is a huge state. Yeah. Some of us drove 10, 11, 12 hours just to do this, and it was worth every minute. Don't get me wrong. So I have such appreciation and respect for all of you. It was wonderful for those who I never got to actually interact with like this, just being there, and the warmth and the strength that everyone brought to this was amazing to be a part of. So I definitely want to thank all of you for that. But in closing, is there anything else you guys would like to share about this experience or what you're looking forward to next?
I'll go.
I just want to add to that. I was like, I can just extend what you said. It's like it was just like a great trip, great seeing friends again and like hanging out and just doing what we're doing, and like it just also makes this huge bond between us. And that's what I love about TST in a whole, that you always, no matter where you go, you have friends all around the globe now with all the congregations around. And so, just like the community is so great, and I'm so grateful for being a part of it. And also at that point, I also want to give a shout out to B, that can't be with us, but was on a trip with us, and was such a huge help and support and everything. So yeah, we love you, B. Thank you for coming with us as well.
Yeah, B was awesome. I just keep remembering the one student, the girl that was like, I can't believe y'all actually came.
Yeah.
You could just see the happiness on her face. And for me, that was pretty much worth the whole trip.
Yeah.
It was just, we made somebody's day.
The family came up. I believe it was her uncle and some other members, and they had huge smiles on their face, almost disbelief and relief, and it was really amazing to see that reflected in people when I really didn't expect it, and it was so beautiful to find it in this place.
Yeah.
And also, Eduardo kind of shared those sentiments too, because when we were talking to him, he when it leaked that we would be there, when the superintendent or whoever put 2 and 2 together, that it's actually, the Protect Children Project is with TST and what TST is, he was like, I looked for over an hour to confirm that it was y'all that were coming. And I'm like, yeah, because in this sort of thing, Dumas is out there, right? It's near Amarillo, and no one really goes to Amarillo unless you're, going through like Route 66, or, it does have like a major medical center too for that area, but people don't just go to Amarillo, right? And so I like the fact that it kind of puts people on their toes as to like, if they show up here, where are they going to show up next?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're okay to mess with Texas and do that in a small town.
I'm looking forward to more events where I can bring my horses because, it's my forte.
Yes, they're always appreciated, and there's nothing more impressive to my listeners out there than a quite tall gentleman with a lovely suit of armor and a beautiful satanic banner and a gorgeous horse standing there with you as a group to say, no, we're seriously here, and probably not somebody that you want to discount.
Yeah, I sent a follow-up email to the superintendent and principal and Chief Quirk of the Dumas ISD police force, and just thanking them for being so receptive to us being there and for protecting us and respecting our First Amendment rights. And I also urged them to consider removing corporal punishment from their district policy. I gave specific reasons why, and also provided them with some good resources to learn, to research more about the issue and the science behind why it's harmful. And I also mentioned that, if they decide not to end corporal punishment in their district, there's a good chance they can expect to see us again next year. So they're aware. I also want to mention that I think it was great to see that the principal and the superintendent, even if they had some wrong ideas about who we were, they were still, good people and, respectful to us. And, it's just that they're very misguided in how they're applying this policy. They're not bad people in any way. They're just terribly misguided in, continuing to use this archaic form of discipline. And last thing I want to mention, a shout out to someone who I haven't mentioned before, but Phrasis Oze from TST New York, who actually volunteered for me over the summer and helped me collect all of the data from every school district in Texas that still uses corporal punishment, which is a lot of districts. And they helped me put all that data together, which led me to being able to find Dumas as the school with one of the worst records. So big thanks to them. I think maybe it'd be cool to read this, read this quote from Eduardo, who actually wrote us a whole statement, written statement about his experience there. And at the end, he wrote, which just really, again, touched me. He said, "When members of the Satanic Temple demonstrated in my hometown yesterday, it meant something to me, but not only me, but also the harmless child in me that had to live in such an inhumane environment that is Dumas ISD. I will forever remember the courage of TST members. Thank you."
Dang.
So that's from his own words. I had such a great time, especially after we got it done, and the relief of having it done and just being able to celebrate with you all, because I think, finding joy in your activism is so important for, maintaining the energy to keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for your efforts and driving such long distances to be there.
It was really a pleasure. And, that's something I think I want to make sure people understand, that while we do advocate and we do go out there and do things like this, it is just an expression of our deeply held religious beliefs, because we do so strongly believe in standing against arbitrary authority. And there's nothing more of an example of that than people that are using corporal punishment and that absolute ever-present threat of violence in these situations. So
yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank all of y'all for taking a little time out on your weekend. Oh, wait, Lucy, you get your hand up.
Go for it.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing quickly again. Is like, I also want to plead with the Dumas High School not getting rid of their cool logo, the demons, or like mascot, the demons. Although like the evangelicals are trying to get rid of it now because they think that was the reason why we actually chose that.
Yeah.
So please don't get rid of it. It is so cute, and we all bought a like nice little merch from them. I was like, it is really cool. Please stick with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hail Dumas demons.
Hail
Hell,
Dumas
you Dumas
demons.
demons. Yeah, having the demon as your mascot had nothing to do with the reason why Satanic
It could have been the
Temple
Dumas
showed up.
teddy bears, and we still would have absolutely shown
It was
that.
definitely
It was-
icing on the cake, though.
Yeah,
It was
Definitely a happy
icing on the
accident.
cake.
yeah. It was hitting the children. So let's
Stick to the point, folks.
yeah, for the evangelicals
But-
out there trying
yeah.
to change that.
Like everybody said, everyone there was professional. The head of the Dumas police for school for Dumas ISD, they were wonderful. They were very aware of what was going on. They paid attention. They made sure that our rights to do this kind of expression were respected. And I think that was something else we brought to that school. Many of these students may not have ever seen or may not see again this type of enactment of their constitutional rights. So we did stand and show them how that works.
Yep. All right, everyone. Well, again, thanks for joining us. This was a really awesome podcast to put together, and we should do more like this.
Absolutely.
all right.
Hail, you guys. Hail Protect Children Project, and hail,
Hail Satan.
Satan.
Hey, Sadie.